You guys ready to tackle a big question? It has to deal with personal responsibility. So if you have no interest in that, you might want to turn this off now and click. Every time I figure out something makes me really uncomfortable to talk about, I view it as something that deserves analysis, perhaps zooming out, gaining different perspective, seeing how far I need to back up in order to create a sense of safety enough for myself to explore the thing. It's the same thing I do for clients every day, right? So I discovered that I had a lot of stories running about asking for money straight out. And I tell you, it's specifically that because some of the stories involved people are really weird about money. Um, People think things differently when it comes to asking for money. They would judge me for the choices that I make in my life. Um, if I ask somebody for money, I have to be giving them something in direct transaction for the money that I'm receiving. And here's the problem with all of that. All of it takes away the other person. Well, it can stop me from asking for what I want or what I need, and brings up questions of what wants and needs are and all these things. Like for example, do I need to be homeless before I ask for help? Do I need to? How far down do I need to go? How bad do I need to feel before I feel like it's okay to ask other people for something, for help? And if money is the way I want to receive help, um, then I should specifically ask for that, right? I sent an email last night that was about asking for support, and I'm going to respond to those emails, the responses that I got in a minute. Um, and today I'm probably going to experiment with just asking straight up for money. But here's the actual problem: is all of those stories aren't really of service to the people that I'm asking, right? I'm taking away my ability to ask for help in a way that I would like to receive help, and I'm also taking away, um, I'm putting words in somebody else's mouth. I'm making it so that it's hard for somebody to tell me yes or no, or I'm thinking for them that they can't handle telling me yes or no. And what I'm working through now, this is definitely an actively working through thing, and just wanted to document where I am right now, and we'll see where I am tomorrow with it. I know that getting more information out of my head allows for a greater flow of new information and new perspectives, and invites other people to get in on the conversation. Then I can decide for myself whether or not the things that they say in response to this or in response to my emails are things that I find valuable and want to inject into my life. So if I'm looking at somebody else, I would want them to ask for help when they want help. And I am powerful in my ability to say yes or no. So if I say, you, can I have some money? How does that make you feel? If somebody asks me for money, I would check in with myself and decide if my first instinct was yes or no, right? Why is it that sometimes when a homeless person asks me for money, I feel like I want to, and sometimes I don't? It could be story. It could be that the way that person looks makes me think they're going to use it for a reason that I don't like, you know. Or it could be, yes, I do want to because that person looks like they really, really need help, right? When in reality, what I'm doing is I'm checking in with the way it feels to me to say yes or no, to offer support in the way that it's being asked for. And that's the most important thing to me. The most sovereign thing that I can do is to check in with the way I feel about it and whether or not I want to do it. I know a lot of people have rules that they have. If somebody asks them for a thing, they always give it. There's somebody in Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Work Week, I think, or maybe it's 4-Hour Body. I remember an example of somebody in one of Tim Ferriss's books having a thing where every time they felt like they were low on money, they would put themselves in a place for a month or something like that where they would always give money to anybody that asked, you know. And I think it was mostly referring to people on the street that were asking for money. And I I guess where, and you have these stories about people following people around and ratting out, homeless person isn't really homeless or whatever. Somebody that was panhandling actually has a car. Well, I don't really know that person's situation. Maybe they're being resourceful and asking for money, and maybe even people um, feel good giving money to that person, and it made their day better, and they feel charitable. Or maybe people kept ignoring a feeling that felt kind of funky because they felt the contrast, but they just gave it anyway out of a sense of guilt. I was talking to my friend over messages earlier today about how people will say yes to a lot of things that they don't want to say yes to out of a feeling of guilt, and people will say no to a lot of things out of a feeling of fear. And neither of those is empowering. Both of those are disempowering beliefs. And the way I know that is the way it makes me feel, the way that makes you feel. If you do something out of guilt, does that make you feel powerful? Does that make you feel stronger? Or do you feel stronger when you do something because you want to do something? You say yes because you actually want to do that thing. When you say no because you're afraid, does that feel good? Does that feel good to say no? Or does leaning into finding more information or saying no because you actually don't want to do the thing, how does that feel? It feels a lot more powerful, right? Fear and guilt are great emotions. They're fantastic ways to investigate finding out like the bumpers of what you're feeling in the bowling lane of life, right? And can bring you back into a place of recognizing you giving away your power. And I'll need to ask my friend Joel about this again. Another conversation I had this week, he had a quote from Osho. It was something about complaining and stuff. Sorry, I shouldn't have even brought that up because I can't remember the quote. But it was basically about people that are giving away power by blaming other people for the situations that they're in. And I always come back to The Gift of Fear by Gavin de Becker and his examples of how he can get anybody that was a victim of a crime into a room and walk them back until a point where they ignored the way they actually felt about something, or their the time where they ignored what actually mattered to them. And it's a beautiful book because it brings into perspective like worst case scenario type things of, well, I said yes to this person that I didn't have a good feeling about because I didn't want to make them feel bad, and then I was raped and nearly murdered. I'm going to manage to survive to tell this story. Fuck, right? Okay, we're all like, yeah, that's bad. You should listen to yourself. When I used to teach self-defense workshops for women up in Philadelphia, that was a question I would ask a lot of people, and pretty much everybody nods their head when they think of saying no in a way that they feel like they can save themselves from bodily harm. Like if you're talking to their daughters about, well, listen to yourself. If you feel like you shouldn't go down that street, then maybe you know, shouldn't go down that street. And they would be full in support of like telling their daughters like, oh yeah, you shouldn't do that. Everybody nods. And then I always wondered about how much people translate that over into other things that aren't those primal needs of feeling physical safety. Like, well, what if your same daughter was saying, I don't really want to go to college? Like, this doesn't feel right to me. How much are you likely to come in and, like, overbear and say, like, well, you're wrong. These are all the reasons why you should. And can you have a conversation that is where the intent is to help the person come to their own answers and what feels best in their bodies, and developing the physical capacity to check in with different ways of making decisions outside of ideas that are easily malleable and that you can see all the pros and cons of. Making decisions from the place of I don't want to or I do want to, I think are really important. And for my part, the best thing that I can do, it's just like the no video, if you haven't watched that yet. It's about having the space to go, okay, and if you say no to me, and that's what you actually mean to something that I asked for, I go, okay, cool. And then we can talk about something else, right? If I do feel a weird thing, I can sit with that. But that's on me. That's on my feeling. It's not your fault. Especially not your fault if you're saying something that is good for you. That's the thing that makes you feel better. I should deal with that. And if I'm consistently, if I'm on the other side of it and I'm consistently like saying yes to small things, things that don't lead to bodily harm, what's the repercussions of that down the road? How does that add up? Like decision after decision after decision of small things of, well, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, it doesn't really make a big difference. I could afford a five. Like, I can give that, even though it doesn't feel good to me. What's the energy attached to that? What energy are you cultivating in yourself? Remember, whatever you practice the most is the thing that you're going to get the most highly myelinated neurological pathways. Whatever you practice the most is going to be the thing that you revert to most quickly. That when under stress becomes your major thing that you use. So if you practice consistently, or pretty often, saying yes to things that you don't actually want to say yes to, or not saying no to things that you actually want to say no to, you're teaching yourself that what you feel has no value. And chances are you will end up in some job that doesn't feel good to you, or you have a life where you forget to even think about what you want in any situation, and you feel disempowered all the time, and usually have bodily aches and pains because you're very suppressed, and you get nasty, and you start to feel like everybody else is wrong and you hate them, but you also keep letting them dictate your life until the moment where you start to make a decision of like, well, maybe this week I'm going to say yes one fewer time than I did last week. I'm going to speak up for what I actually think. Somebody asked me for money. Samantha said, hey, can I have some money? I would like some money. Money would feel good to me to have more of. I would rather you not even take my feelings into consideration in some respect. Maybe that feels good to you. From a coaching perspective, I would rather ask without giving you any information and have you study what your reaction is just based on feeling and say like, can I have some money? And then your answer is yes or no. You could ask for more information if you wanted, but I'd like you to kind of study what that feels like on the inside. I guess that's about all I want to say right now. This has gotten long enough. I hope you guys are having a great day. And if you want to send me money, I'll put my Venmo and my PayPal down. If that was something that felt good to you, then I'm definitely willing to accept it because I would like more money. And if it doesn't feel good to you, then great. And man, I feel like I'm not helping you by making sure I make it obvious that I'm okay if you do what you want. I want you to say yes or no depending on what it is. What is the thing that you would like to say or do? And think about that. Apply that laterally across the decisions that you make, and maybe spend a few minutes thinking about how those things pile up into other aspects of your life and what kind of trends you're created. You should also go do some cars because you've probably been staring at the screen for way too long, right? Jiu-jitsu. All right, I love you guys. I miss you. I can't wait till we can all be together again. Send me some money.